programs. So thank you for joining us tonight. We're going to go over transaction services careers, as well as give you an overview of the industry and expound on how SEO career can help you with your career interests. So for this webinar, we'll go over a very high-level overview of our 2015 class. We'll also talk about transaction services as an industry. We'll have a video that covers the future of transaction services and also talk about how the area impacts business and give you a kind of at-a-glance view of what transaction services is, as well as talk more about the training we provide, as well as sample projects and the benefits of being a participant of SEO career. So for our 2015 class, they are currently completing their internships this summer. Many of them are in about week 6 or so. We have about 85 interns in what we term the corporate program, and within that program, all of our partners you'll see on the right-hand side. So those partners include corporations as well as investment banks, and our class for this summer represents 52 colleges and universities and have an average GPA of 3.44. So that just kind of gives you an idea of the diversity amongst campuses that we have, as well as the academic achievement that is the average amongst this year's class. And for this year's class, we have about 7 interns that are interning in transaction services, and they're placed at JP Morgan as well as Citi. So in terms of what transaction services is, it's the area of the bank, an investment bank, usually, that helps to provide a wide range of services, products and services to institutional clients. So if you think about investment banking and, that arm of the business provides advisory services, related to debt and equity financing, transaction services is more so kind of the commercial bank that to these institutional clients that provides all of those other banking services that are necessary in order to run businesses. So I like to kind of give the example that if Kmart wants to pay their factory in Istanbul, then they need a bank to help facilitate that relationship, as well as all of those accounts, intra-country regulations, all things like that. And transaction services touches many of those points. In terms of the clients that you service, many of the clients are other financial institutions. They can be governments or cities, as well as large corporations, even universities. So the client base is very diverse in terms of the types of businesses that transaction services, kind of focuses on. In terms of the products, it's pretty varied across the board. So many of the products can be bucketed in terms of cash management, so helping companies manage their cash and their liquidity, as well as working capital. Some of the other products include managing import or export, financing, or letters of credit, or things like that. Another key product offering is supply chain finance. So for all of those different components of getting a product to an end customer, transaction services will help clients to finance those different kind of chains of custody. Another key offering that's really interesting is the white label offering. So many transaction services areas will offer their products to other banks and allow the bank to use their name, the client's name, in order to provide a product or service to another target market or a smaller target market that the original company doesn't service. And the internships that we offer in transaction services, as I mentioned, are with Citi and JP Morgan. In terms of how TS is organized, it's mainly broken into 3 different segment areas. So there's sales, which, their goal is to focus on bringing in the revenue. There's project management, which was largely produced out of, the market turmoil, around 2008. And this area helps to increase efficiency as well as make sure that areas operating you know, at the highest level of productivity. And then lastly, there's the product management side, which manages those products and services in order to service the client. So these three areas work together very heavily. In terms of how they work together, sales manages the client relationship. So they engage with the client, they communicate the client's needs, any concerns that the client may have to the other two areas. Project management sits in the middle because they liaise with technology, operations, sales, as well as product management in order to really maximize that efficiency, to maximize revenue, and to identify any key areas of opportunity for the business. And then product management comes in because they liaise only with the areas that touch the product. So in turn, they're really tasked with kind of innovating products, making sure services are cutting edge, that they implement, you know, the latest technology and are really there to service the client at the highest level. And now we have a short video from one of our partners that covers the future of global transaction services. It's produced by Citi, but I think that many of the tenets within the video will span across the entire industry.
Of change is intense.
Information will be key in how we manage business in the future.
We're in an amazing time right now. How can I do what I did yesterday better today?
Creativity is number one.
We have got a great deal of opportunity, and that's what's going to see us through. There's been a great deal of reckoning, and we have survived this particular discontinuity, and we have to be prepared to survive the next discontinuity. It's really changing the way the business is done. It's not status quo anymore. It's all about how do we develop new business models.
Our business in particular is not a business you pack up and move and displace overnight. This is a business that's founded on years of working relationship.
We're not making paper clips. This is a very complex, specialized business that we're in. What we've been doing is trying new things, opening up new markets, opening up new capabilities, new business lines. And I think that's the edge that we have when we look forward, is that we are positioned against all the major segments. We play at every intersection point on the investment life cycle. No matter which direction happens to take, and I know we're looking for what it's going to look like. I don't have any answer to that. I don't think anybody really knows what shape these markets are going to take in the next few years. But I think the business model that we're trying to build is to get us on the stage so that when it does happen, we're there and we're available to service our clients.
You know, this is the Big Bang. This is Woodstock, and we, Citi, or I, am here for that moment. And I think as you have to look at it, this is the moment for opportunity.
We're in a very interesting time for our clients. They're reacting to the new environment they're in. They're restructuring their balance sheets. They're redeploying capital into new areas.
What we have to do to be their best business partner in an environment like this is to look beyond it.
We get there by being the idea generator and the thought leader.
They are looking for the next new thing, the next new efficiency, how they are going to continue reducing their costs, being more relevant to their customers, improve the efficiencies.
What they're not stopping is innovation.
The challenges for us are really being able to adapt.
They need us to be right there in the mix and doing the things that we've always done really well, which is to innovate and to invest in our business and to ensure that we're still being successful and helping them to be successful.
There are opportunities, and especially opportunities where we can work with government agencies and structure new types of deals, which we haven't done before, so it's also a very innovative time.
If I were looking at my client right now, my most important client right now, what I'd like to tell them is, 今の状況は非常に難しいかと思うんですけれども、今後10年、20年先を見れば、御社だけではなく、我々も含めてですね、非常にいい未来があると考えております。
How do we get from today to tomorrow? It's a good question.
20 years is difficult. 5 or 10 is easier.
50 years for me. Let's see. If that would make me 90.
2029.
25 years down the road, we'll see a complete transformation of the way that we do business.
10 to 15 years down the line, all the other mechanisms, including some of the newer payment forms like cards, will have all evolved into mobile technology.
If we can make mobile handsets mechanisms for conducting everyday business, be it through near-field communication or through SMS-related transacting, that's exceptionally exciting for me.
Where we need to get to in the next 10, 15 years' time is to figure out if we can have a presence as the backbone of all of these mobile payments and networks.
The city of tomorrow is embedded deep within our clients' organization.
If we want to truly be the trusted advisor, we need to transcend and move to a place where we are completely transparent.
The ability to deliver our platform is so much based on how we connect with our clients in the media and the aspects of social media and social networking and all the things in Web 2.0 are going to allow us to just really make those connections.
To put your name to something and to be able to say in 5 years' time, I worked on that, I delivered that, and this is something that we can replicate.
The city of tomorrow is even more driven by our clients than the one of today.
The city approaches opportunities 45 degrees forward. It leans into opportunities, and we have to maintain that, we have to build that.
But I think the organization is so just poised for the opportunities that we have and what we do today. We can just accelerate that.
And actually something that I forgot to mention at the beginning of our webinar was that I began my career in transaction services at Citi as a finance analyst and have actually worked on projects with several of the individuals featured in that video. But hopefully one of the key themes that you were able to pick out from there is that clients are really looking to transaction services partners to help innovate their global processes. So that's something that's really important to the business and kind of the cornerstone of what is the mission of transaction services. And in terms of the business impact, you'll see that with transaction services there are several key areas, and they all are focused around deal execution. So when a client, when a transaction services, banker or relationship manager, depending on the firm, the name changes. But when they're out trying to court business from these institutional clients, the deal is really kind of what they want to get. They want to get that book of business. And what is impacted by that deal are things that you'll see around the circle. So cost and productivity. So, these relationship managers go out to the client and say that we can lower your costs, we can increase your productivity within these global processes where you're making payments, where you have foreign exchange, where there is credit risk. Another key thing is systems. We may have within the firm technology or platforms that you can utilize in order to, again, lower those costs or increase productivity. Another key area impact within transaction services is compliance. One thing that is really important is that the industry has what is called SLAs, so service level agreements. So once the deal is executed, these clients and the firm come up with these service level agreements that are basically contracts that say, you will settle our trades within this amount of time. All of our payments will be processed within 24 hours, whatever the case may be. There are also regulatory and international considerations around the business that will fall into the compliance bucket. Another key business impact is strategy. So the relationship manager within transaction services really acts as a true partner to these clients in order to help strategize for the future, in order to help figure out ways in which they can conduct business better. And lastly, another key business impact area would be the different global markets and client segmentation. So one thing that we will talk about in a second is the global nature of transaction services. So the clients look to transaction services, relationship managers, and bankers to kind of educate them on what's happening in international markets geographically, as well as what's happening in their particular client segment. So the impact is very expansive, and you'll find that it's a very kind of dynamic product area. So in terms of transaction services at a glance, here are kind of the high-level benefits of working in the area. So one key thing, and I've experienced this myself by beginning my career in this area, is that you get very hands-on experience with developing business processes and again, creating that innovation, because you'll find that once a client signs on for a new service or product, there has to be process flows for how the client will kind of engage with that product, who's involved with the process, how many different handoffs and touch points there are. So there is a lot of kind of creating new processes in that way. Another key benefit or kind of aspect of working in transaction services is the entrepreneurial nature. There are sales, there's a sales aspect, there's a product management aspect, there's a project management aspect. So it's really great for creating those all-around business skills, in especially around analysis and pitching and things like that. And lastly, transaction services is really looked to as internal consultants to the business as well as to the firm, because they're on the front line with clients, so they're able to come back to the firm and educate everyone internally on what clients are looking for, as well as educate the client on what is going on in the market. So there's a great opportunity to act as a consultant and build skills in that area. And as I mentioned, the global opportunities, these come from the sheer nature of the business. With courting these institutional clients, a lot of them have business all around the world. So the transaction services offerings will really take into consideration the global nature of the client's business. And many firms, especially the two firms we partner with, do offer global opportunities to work for full-time analysts. So that's definitely something to keep in mind for building a career in this space. And lastly, within transaction services, the deals are very lucrative and large. So a lot of times, even as an entry-level person or someone that is very early in their career, they will gain that kind of immediate senior level exposure, because the teams are relatively small, but the revenue that they bring in usually represent a large amount for these firms. So there's a lot of exposure to senior management. In terms of what our partners are looking for transaction services and the type of candidate that succeeds, typically we try to recruit students that are majoring in accounting, finance, or business. However, the program is open to any major, but probably a little more importantly than majors, we really want students that have quantitative skills, analytical skills, as well as the ability to show leadership. So that also includes, showing leadership on campus or through extracurricular activities. It's really important to be personable and engaging, because as we've spoken about before, there are a lot of different areas that you will liaise within transaction services. So really being able to build that teamwork nature and collaborative environment is really important. We look for students that have at least a 3.0 GPA. And something else that is really important is global experience and or perspective. So it's really great if you've studied abroad or have taken an international business class or have even been exposed to the thought processes of how global business works because of the nature of the business. And lastly, we definitely want students that have a passion for business and are interested in long-term development of business relationships. So for what we offer for training, we split our training into virtual training as well as in-person training. So for virtual training, that begins typically late fall. This may change a little bit depending on our timeline for SEOU. However, it includes, about 100 hours of technical and professional development courses that take place virtually. So, during your downtime or on the weekends or after class, you can take the classes, and all of the topics are related to what you will be doing in a corporate environment and what you will be doing in transaction services. For in-person training, this occurs during the last 2 weeks or so of May, where all of our interns, SEO career interns across all programs, come together and have customized training related to what they will be doing. And something I'll point out is that within transaction services, the PowerPoint skills are really important. So we offer an even more advanced training session for transaction services students during the in-person training to ensure that they're, you're, up to par with your peers and can really add value from day one. In terms of here's some sample summer intern projects that have occurred. So you'll find that if you were to become a transaction services intern, you would do things like provide market analysis. You may provide analysis on client risk or client credit exposure. You may do market segmentation, a project on that, kind of looking at the different global markets that transactions services operates in and what the opportunities are. You may even research different client segments and client behaviors, so that will really help the sales team kind of target those sales opportunities. And lastly, even partner with different areas of the bank to really understand the internal risk involved with different deals. One of my last projects that I worked on in transaction services at Citi was pricing a brand new product that was being brought to market. So that involved, a really robust financial model and also some client segmentation where I had to identify small, medium, large client segments and then different pricing structures for each. So the projects are typically very dynamic, very robust, and very engaging. So that's something that is kind of a very great benefit of working in transaction services. And for what we offer here through SEO Career, we've talked about the training. So we make sure that you can walk into your internship very prepared to add value from day one, as I mentioned. We also offer industry access. So during our training periods, we have what we call seminars, where you have access to speakers, senior level speakers, from our different partner agencies. We offer mentor support. So a lot of our firms will offer an internal, mentor at the firm. We also try to pair you with an alumni SEO mentor, so someone who's really gone through the experience, knows what you're dealing with. And lastly, also your SEO staff mentor, so that can be in the form of your program manager or coordinator that really understands the business and can help, guide you through the process. Another key benefit is our alumni network. The vast majority of these professionals are still in the businesses where they started their careers. A lot of them still work at our partner firms. So it's really a great network to leverage in terms of, being someone really beginning their career. And lastly, we really value giving back. So something that we have incorporated into our SEO career experience is what we call the intern class gift, where as interns, you guys decide and vote on a charitable organization that you'd like to support, and we help to facilitate that kind of building, philanthropy skills and really cultivating a culture of giving back. So now we'll open it for questions. One of my colleagues, Sandy, will help with reading some of the questions, and also just be sure to take note of our website if you haven't already, and find us on social media. There are lots more videos and testimonials and things like that.
Okay, if anyone has any questions, they can write their questions in the chat box. We're going to begin really shortly. First question is from Robert. Edwina, what are the typical hours for transaction services?
That's a great question. So it typically depends on where you are, if you're in sales, product management, or project management. So for product management probably has the most straightforward hours, you know, typical 40 hours. Project management obviously will depend on if you're working on a project or not. So when I was in transaction services, if I was on a project, I may work later, you know, until 8 or 9, you know, until the project is over. But once in between projects, very much 9 to 5. Sales is pretty much 9 to 5, but it does include some travel, and you would need to be available for client inquiries. But the overall general work-life balance is pretty good within transaction services, and typically is 9 to 5, you know, unless you have things going on, like clients reaching out, or a live deal, or you're on a project. So it ebbs and flows, but typically the work-life balance is pretty good.
All right, next question. Just to clarify, this is from Michelle. She's like, Edwina, just to clarify, does the virtual training begin in SEOU, or only once a student is admitted into SEO as an intern?
Sure. So previously, it would begin only after a student has been admitted into the process. However, I think we're in the process of revamping the timeline, so we may allow you guys, SEOUers, to get access to that virtual training earlier. So I believe that's the model that we're kind of transitioning to.
Any additional questions? All right, well, if anyone has another question, we'll take a couple more. Okay then, well, Eddie, Edwina, there seems like there are no further questions at this time.
Great. So if there are any other questions, I believe if you know, if you fill out the profile form on our website, I should have already reached out to you, but if not, you'll be hearing from me soon. So you can always, you know, ask questions at that point once we engage. Thank you.
All right, thank you everyone so much for attending.